back about 10 years ago, we brought a whole series of high hatches up here to test them. This was one of them, the Renault Captur. Today, it's the only one left. And that gives you a pretty good idea of how well it's done. In fact, it's still selling well, but mostly as an urban car. And that is not exactly what we had in mind for it. The idea is to enjoy the Karoo and then take a right down into the Karoo for a real test of the Captur. The first stop is here at harshest on the working farm de Captur. It's an apple farm and they're harvesting at the moment. Apples besides, there's plenty to do out here. It's right in the middle of the Cederberg, and harshest is a good spot to base yourself. From harshest, it's to the little village of Oppiberg. Take a right towards Rocklands and the deep Cederberg, and then another right onto the kind of dirt road that every South African who has an adventurous spirit should know about. Well, we've been driving for a couple of hours now, so plenty of time to give an idea of what the Renault Captur is like. And I have to say, I'm very impressed. So far, probably an 8 out of 10. Useful, very responsive. That's been my big takeaway so far. Let's see what happens up and over the way. As I've said before, a number of times, the French are making extremely good cars at the moment. Peugeot are knocking it out the park with most of the things that they're making, all of the things they're making it. 208 is one of my favorites at the moment. And Renault, especially with the new Clio, has stepped up their game as well. Captur obviously meant to be higher, and it certainly drives like that. Although up here, sitting here, it doesn't feel like an SUV, which is a good thing or possibly a bad thing if that's what you're trying to find from one of these high hatches. Personally, I think it's high enough and it rides so nicely. It's a good compromise as far as I'm concerned. Inside, Renault have done a first-class job of the fit, and the finishings are right up there with the Germans as well. My personal favorites, I love that floating gear lever, that dual start button, and that grippy steering wheel, which gives a good indication of what Captur is like to drive. Looking down on the Karoo from the Karoo, it's one of those moments. Driving it is even better. There are 2 passes down into the Tankwa, one of which has to be tar simply because if it were dirt, it would all just slide away. And finally, down those passes, it's a T-junction. It's the R355, one of South Africa's most famous dirt roads. Take a left, and down the way, a surprise. Here we are at the Tankwa. It's fair to say that Hein and Suzanne's little place in the Karoo is a bit odd, but in the best possible way. It's also an icon and something of a must-do when you're stopping on that long road. So pop into the pub or have one of those rooster cooks that they're so famous for, or go over the road and have a look at the spaceship and the Peugeot 504 that apparently fell to earth. Five hours in and time for a bit of a stock take. The road holding has been remarkable, probably our takeaway. The ground clearance is what you would expect from a high hatch and very, very useful out here. But most of all, Renault's Captur is a very comfortable place to be. There's been a certain amount of thud through the suspension, but with these roads, it's kind of what you expect. No, this has been a delightful surprise. But would you choose a Captur over a Duster? That really is the question. Duster has proved itself over and over again out there in the great unknown. Captur not so much. Ultimately it's going to come down to comfort and a certain degree of style. Captur might be capable, but let's be honest, it's really all about the style. What we did today isn't really what it's supposed to be for, but I wanted to prove a point, which is that French cars do have a place out there in the Karoo, new French cars, and that they can handle what you throw at them. 8 passes, some very challenging roads, and one final moment, heading down Karoo's Pass as the sun sets. A real privilege. It's been grand.